what's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
WNS Eagles is looking to shake up the playoffs. It's Not a Tumor is looking to make his mark. And Notrashanas is still at the top of the heap. This and much, much more on this week's Fantasy Football Forum. I'm Floyd and I bring the heat.
And this is Sean, the Greek.
Together we host the Fantasy Football Forum. Welcome to the playoff edition of the Fantasy Football Forum. Of course, I'm your co-host Floyd, and he is the Greek. How you doing today, Greek?
Happy to be here. Back by popular demand.
They demanded it.
They did. I know that you have your podcast, and you've had a little bit of a taste of celebrity. At this point, I'm nervous about going to the grocery store. Oh my God, there's the Greek.
Well, it's such a bigger platform, too. We're on YouTube. All right, so we're going to do a few things today. This is obviously going to focus mainly on the end of the season, on the playoffs, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the folks that maybe didn't make the playoffs. So, actually, that's how I think we'll kick it off. What do you think, Greek?
Let's start with the bottom.
Let's do it. So, we have 4 teams at the bottom. We have Dim Sum that came in at the 9 spot. We have Chris from State Farm came in at the 10 spot. Carl's Primo team at 11, and as we, of course, talked about last week, Cheeseheads bringing up the rear.
Rear.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
None taken. All right. So, for this segment, I think, Greek, we'll let you kind of take the lead. Talk about some of these moves, and then I'll kind of play off of you. So take it away.
Okay, let's start with the number 9. We start with Dim Sum. First thing I would say about that, everyone's entitled to do what they want to do. I honestly would not have sold. Dim Sum, kind of out of nowhere, about a week or two before the playoffs, decided to sell the farm. And for me, if I would have had Gurley, if I would have had Tariq Cohen, if I would have had Andrew Luck and Mariota, I would have ran with it. I would have taken a chance on. I would have went for the playoffs this year.
I think Dim Sum could have been a mild buyer. I'm not talking about give up next year. Pick up 1 or 2 decent players.
One big move.
And he might have been 2 or 3, 2 or 3 seed.
Oh, at that point, and he would have had Luck and Gurley, and then let's say he would have made a move for a big receiver.
Yeah.
And he also at this point he's been hurt a lot, but he had Gronk, who in terms of tight ends is one of your still top potential tight end. So Gronk can still have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Especially the seasons Gronk's had, and now obviously we all know that New England gets serious about this time of year every year, right?
And they're always playing meaningful games in weeks 14, 15, and 16, which is what you always want. But yeah, everyone can do what they want. And furthermore, when you forecast out to 2019 and you see that storm Cheeseheads coming.
Oh yeah.
For me, if I would have even been in the ball, if I would have been a Dim Sum, if I'd have been like an on the verge team, I'm not saying it was a juggernaut, but I'm saying I would have said, you know what, I'm making a big move. I'm going to take a chance this year because who knows what next year's going to bring.
Absolutely.
So with that said, when you look, I'm saying was able to move Gurley, got 2 twos, which 2 twos, you're getting 2 in the second round. He'll have 2 studs. So. Besides that, though, I can't lie. I think he decided to sell a little late because when you look at it, really the only thing he has to show for here are some 10th round picks. So that's another thing where maybe if you're going to sell, you might want to decide about a week or 2 early because honestly, there weren't a whole lot of buyers left.
So I don't want to get too ahead of us, but talking about Chris from State Farm, then so did he sell? Where did he end up?
No, Chris from State Farm. Actually, if I were to surmise Chris real quickly, he was probably the unlucky guy. He was a buyer.
Gotcha.
He's a buyer. He actually is the one that made the big move for Kareem Hunt. Gave up a 4 and an 8 to get Kareem Hunt, who was top 2 running back, and then that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I mean, who knew that Kareem Hunt was in Cleveland beating the crap out of people?
Right.
But anyway, so Dim Sum, I disagreed with it, but Chris, he was a buyer. That's the worst case scenario. Is there anything worse than you buy, sacrifice 2019, and you don't make the playoffs?
So, I mean, I guess if you were to just look at it on paper, at this point, Dim Sum is the person or the team that probably, again, just on paper, probably has the best chance to possibly make a move and step up against Cheeseheads next year.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, and then back to Chris, totally unlucky. I mean, because next year he's missing a 4 and a 9, so he comes into the draft a little shorthanded and didn't even make the playoffs this year.
Wow.
So honestly, and that Chris from State Farm team with Kareem Hunt, let's just say in an alternate universe that never happened with Kareem Hunt. What if you had to play someone in the playoffs this week that has Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, and Kareem Hunt, and Julio Jones?
Yeah.
Any of those guys could explode for 30 points.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds, were probably happy that Chris from State Farm got screwed over a little.
Well, if you remember our last show, he was my dark horse to win the whole thing.
Oh, and we even said, this guy has the ability to win the whole thing or miss the playoffs.
Yeah, yep.
I do think the Greek nailed that pick, though, right? Did he have Chris from State Farm out?
Yep.
Yeah.
So who we got here down at the bottom of the barrel?
That brings us to the number 11 was Carl's Primo team.
Not so much.
Not so much. Oxymoron this year. Honestly, it's kind of what we alluded to in the previous episode. Just a bad draft, never recovered from it.
Yeah.
With that said, he became a buyer right around probably a seller at the appropriate time. Was able to get some good pieces. Moving into next year, he will have 3 4th-round picks and 2 6th-round picks.
Wow,
that's legit.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 4th-round. I mean, those are bona fide starters. So he'll basically have 3 extra bona fide starters.
Right.
If there's anything that Carl taught us this year is this live draft is a different animal.
Yes.
And the beloved commissioner of the league, I believe he said something along the lines that I'm paraphrasing. It was so eloquent, I don't know if I can, be able to say it perfectly, but basically it makes the good players better and the bad players try a little harder.
I think so.
Something along those lines, and I totally agree with it. But if you're one of those people, if you didn't feel real comfortable with that live draft this year, feel like you didn't do as well, I would practice it. Think about it. Come into that thing with a game plan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't need to be said. You can get on Yahoo and do as many fake drafts as you want. You know what I mean? And it gives you an idea of where you're going to be when you come up in the draft, that type of thing. So,
but yeah, he's one of the people. There's a couple people that I felt like that live draft really hurt a little bit, and he suffered for it in 2018. Hopefully, he's got a good draft haul for 2019. Hopefully, better things for Carl M. Primo team moving forward.
So let's talk about the lowest person in the league, and then talk about potential for next year.
Okay, bringing up the rear was Cheeseheads, and we've seen a couple guys sell early. We've seen in years past. I think Big Limbs threw in the towel a little early. And Sweetness threw in the towel a little early one year. Mm-hmm. But the word I would use to describe this season for Cheeseheads is unprecedented.
Yeah.
We've never seen, there was a point where I think...
Well, not only unprecedented in the selling, but unprecedented in what he goes into next season with.
Oh, yes. That goes without saying. But there was also an element, I think it was like week 2 or week 3, like in the league, if you get the highest points, you get like $10. There's a prize for winning the most points. Mm-hmm. Week 2 or week 3, Cheeseheads won that award.
And they sold in week 4?
Literally pocketed the $10, and then week 4, it's like everybody's up on the auction block. So it's just like, and if you look at all the stuff that he has for next year, this will be interesting. Because I don't think it's dawned on everybody the haul he has. In years past, you'll have people that have like 2 2nd-round picks or 2 4th-round picks. Mm-hmm. For example, this year, Sweetness had 2 1s, 2 4s, and I believe 2 8s or 2 7s. Mm-hmm. But also, I think he was missing like a 9, 10, or 11.
Right, right.
This is unprecedented. Cheeseheads will, after the 9th round, will be able to go home. Does not even draft in 10 through 16.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. He'll be taking his kicker and his defense in 8 through 9. So not only will he have the best running backs, the best quarterbacks, he'll have the best defense and best kicker. So I know some people disagree with me. I think this will be unprecedented. I think there's a chance that next year might be a lost year.
Maybe.
It really may just be the whole season may be a coronation.
Might be undefeated.
Undefeated.
Could see.
Might have an asterisk beside it.
So, that was the potatoes of the league. Let's get to the meat. We have 4 very good matchups, and we have a couple interesting ones within those 4. So we're gonna go down the list. I guess basically what I would say in terms of what Vegas would probably consider the closest or the most interesting games. Is that how you would kind of describe that, Greek?
Yeah.
So the first game that we're going to cover the number 1 seed from pretty much for wire to wire, right? Was there?
No, opening.
Oh, that's right.
Opening week loss.
Yeah, Hog Heaven won undefeated the first 4 or 5 games,
yeah,
right?
I actually think that he actually did not take over until week 7 or week 8.
Week 7, week 8.
Crazy fluke Drew Brees week.
But as we commented on last week, far and away the highest points.
Yes.
4 and
maybe I believe it was record set for points scored during regular season.
Possibly, I would go as far as to say, just being a historian of this league. I know we've only been doing this broadcast on the league for a short time, but I've followed this league. I don't know if you have.
Yes, I don't know if I have as long as you have, but got into it seriously about 5 to 6 years ago, and yes.
So I followed this league, and I would go as far as to say that Notre Shaughnessy is probably the most heavily favored number 1 or any team going into the playoffs that this league's ever had.
Yeah, there was a good team there a few years ago. WNS Eagles had a team that was kind of on this level, but this may be a step further in terms of what Notre Shaughnessy is looking like heading into the playoffs.
So the number 1 seeded team, Notre Shaughnessy.
Well, then I guess there's only one thing left to do. What's that? Win the whole fucking thing.
The number 1 seed coming in at 11-2 record, 1,748 points scored for, with 1,426 scored against. He's going up against the 8 seed that slipped in the end, Jessica's team.
You're 5 feet nothing, 100 and nothing, and you got hardly a speck of athletic ability. And you hung in with the best football
league
in the land for 2 years.
Jessica's team comes in with a 6-7 record, 1,375 points scored for, 1,320 points scored against. Notably, she's the 8th seed. She is second from the bottom as far as points scored against with 1,320. So, what do you think is going to happen here, Greek? You think we can even dream of an upset here?
I think that Notre Shaughnessy moving into the playoffs, I agree that he looks to be a juggernaut. The only thing I will say to criticize him, I think he got a little too cute. I think he made too many moves. You ever go by that yard and it's perfectly manicured, looks perfect, and the next thing you know, you go by the following spring and they've added 1 too many trees, or
oh yeah, that person they put a pink flamingo in their yard, and then 2 years from now there's silver crystal balls and all that crap just filling their whole yard.
And to a lesser extent, I think Notre Shaughnessy did that. I think he got a little too cute. I think he was ready to go and he got a little too cute. I don't. In retrospect, I don't think getting rid of Christian McCaffrey was a good idea, especially with what happened to him with James Conner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Notre Shaughnessy is a juggernaut. I think that he can win the whole thing. I'm just saying I think they're cracks. If you really kind of study the board here. First of all, you got Philip Lindsay coming in out of nowhere now. Really, he only started for him 2 games all year, and here it is week 14. He's starting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good player, though.
Oh, it's a good player. It's a solid player, but he still has games where he'll get 13 carries.
Right.
I mean, this isn't a workhorse back.
Right. Absolutely.
But don't get me wrong. That in one way, it shows you how there's cracks, but then the other way, you could look at it, you make the argument, it shows the depth of Notre Shaughnessy.
Absolutely.
So, on the other negative side, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, that's the big combo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing Baltimore.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That's not the greatest matchup. So I think, and then when you look at Jessica's team, this is kind of a crazy little thing. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I honestly don't even think those guys were on her team 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Picked them both up as free agents. I heard from a reliable source today that Josh Allen is actually the highest scoring fantasy player the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Actually, I don't even think quarterback. Actually, just player across the board.
Wow.
I mean, I know that he's had a couple mid-20 point weeks. So, and then Lamar Jackson, ever since he comes in, I mean, this is a quarterback that rushes 75 yards a game.
Yeah.
That's 7 points right there. That's essentially 2 throwing touchdowns. So, with all that said, I think that Jessica's team, I totally respect how prideful she was. She sold for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she didn't give up. She made moves on the waiver wire, and she found a way to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, and matter of fact, I was going to mention, she's on a 2-game winning streak, and that 2-game winning streak is probably what pushed her over, because she only made it in. She has the same record as Dim Sum. She made it in by 8 points.
Yes. I mean, it was close. That last week, I don't remember a year where, like, going into the final week where there was just so much uncertainty about who was going to play who in terms of, like, the only thing we knew going into the last week was Nostradamus was 1 and Hulk Heaven was 2. 3 through 8 was up for grabs.
Absolutely.
So I just showed you how good of a season it was. Now, push comes to shove at the end of the day. I totally respect what Jessica's team did at the end of the day. I think Nostradamus, my prediction for this week, I think Nostradamus has a down week, but I still think he gets by. I think he survives.
I think so too. I mean, my pick to win the game is Nostradamus.
Agree with you. That's my pick.
It's just too much to overcome.
Yeah.
I mean, he just has too deep of a roster for the 8 seed that has sold to be able to overcome that.
I agree.
Is this not going? It's not going to be a situation where one player plays bad and then Jessica's team sneaks in and wins that game. It's going to have to be some monumental meltdown.
Gotcha. Yes, it would. And also going against Jessica, we're taping on a Friday, so the Thursday games are in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then last night, one of her wide receivers only got her 2 points. And that was one of those things where if you're going to try to get that Cinderella story, if you're going to try to make that happen, Corey Davis from Tennessee needed to get you like 18 points.
Yes.
And that 2 was that was pretty much a killer for her. Now also, on Friday, we're taping on Friday, so we're going off Vegas lines. Our Vegas lines are the Friday show, so this may change between now and Sunday when the games officially kick.
Mm-hmm.
Going in right now, Nostradamus is minus 46.
Minus 46.
So the Greek's pick for this one is you take Jessica and the points all day long.
Okay.
Picking Nostradamus to win the game against the number, you take Jessica and the points and you run to the cashier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not taking the rubber band off the roll.
Oh.
But I would take Nostradamus or I would take Jessica and the points on that.
I would agree with that.
So the next game, we're going to skip down. We're going to go to the number 3 seed versus the number 6 seed. This is one of the most interesting matchups. If you know this league and you know these owners, these guys are friends.
Lived together for an inappropriate amount of years.
Lived together. They were roomies at one time.
Yeah.
And they are going to take each other. And we talked about It's Not a Tumor. And last week, we rooted for him to make it. And look at this. He's sitting at the 3 seed.
Power position right there.
So, this is number 3. It's Not a Tumor.
Now, boys, don't get caught watching a paint dry.
At 8-5, number 3, It's Not a Tumor, comes in with 1,522 points for him. Guess what? Number 2 in the league. Points for. Against 14-12, who's he taking on? Number 6, Bad Guys. Well, Bad Guys has had a very interesting season. Comes in with 1,426 points for and 1,476 against. Our first person that we've mentioned that has more points against him than for.
God, don't tell him that.
They come in with, It's Not a Tumor comes in with an 8-5 record, and Bad Guys comes in with a 7-6 record. What do you think about this one, Greek?
Well, I'll start with Bad Guys. Like I said, first and foremost, just remember we're taping on a Friday. But so the rosters we see right now, we assume is what we're going to see on Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bad Guys has got a bold move right now there. He as of right now, he has Adam Humphries playing in that flex position over Matthew Stafford, the quarterback. And with all that said, I actually agree with it. But at the end of the day, I think it's a ballsy move to play a wide receiver who, honestly, I believe he picked up off the waivers 3 weeks ago, starting him in your flex position week 14.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that goes to show you about but I'm just saying Adam Humphries, the best way to describe it, we know that Adam Humphries isn't going to score 25 points.
Right.
There's a chance Matthew Stafford could still have a week where he scores 25 points.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, I agree with the move. I'm not even saying anything negative about it. I'm just saying at the end of the day, we have to recognize that's a move. That's a risque move.
Well, I think there's something to be said about that is someone that's genuinely thinking outside the box a little bit and putting some thought into this.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Putting some thought into the lineup.
That is something that would not even have occurred to most people.
Right.
I mean, couldn't agree with you more. When I look at the rest of the roster, I don't love the Brandon Cooks matchup against the Bears. I mean, that's one of his staple receivers going up against the Bears. Nobody likes that week 14.
Yep.
Honestly, I think did you say it was an up and down season for him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Quality player. At the end of the day, I think if he were here, he would tell you this season hasn't turned out the way he wanted it.
Yep.
You know, had a bad 2017, wanted bigger things in 2018. With that said, if he gets by this game, watch out. This guy's won a few championships already. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if he could get through it, at the end of the day, I think the thing that will hamstring him are those running backs all year. I know that he was trying to make back deals, working the trade lines, making the calls, trying to get running backs. Never happened for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this week, I look at the quarterbacks between both teams. I think they kind of cancel each other out. I think the wide receivers cancel each other out. I think that the reason that I'm going to pick It's Not a Tumor to win this game is because of those running backs. Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, I predict, will outscore Dalvin Cook and Kenyon Drake by a good 20 to 25 points, and I think that'll be the difference in the game. I really think. I think that his inability to get that running back trade comes home to roost week 1.
Well, I'm going to kind of break I guess you would say, the journalistic or reporter kind of rules here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you any sort of, technical insight into this. All I'm going to say is I feel like it's a special season for It's Not a Tumor. I think he wins this game.
I agree. Yeah. You don't have to get real into it. I mean, if you want to, real quickly, I'm saying I like the quarterback matchups. You got Big Ben coming off a loss against Oakland, who's one of the worst defenses in football. And also has his running back is hurt, so they may be thrown to throw the ball more than they already do. And then you got Dak Prescott playing at home against Philadelphia, who's one of it's a top bottom 5 defense.
Right.
So both of his quarterback got good matchups. The only bad thing he did, a little bad news, maybe moving forward, he lost Emmanuel Sanders this week with a torn Achilles, and that was his number. That was his number 3. And when you look at his number 3 receiver that he has Slater right now, is Larry Fitzgerald. Not many people want to be playing Larry Fitzgerald right now, right? But yeah, I'm with you. As for the pick for the game, I'm picking It's Not a Tumor. Now, like I said, Vegas right now has It's Not a Tumor laying 23 in this one, just like the first game, giving me bad guys in the points. I think it's closer than 23 when it's all said and done.
I disagree. I'm going to take It's Not a Tumor. I think he's going to run away with it.
You got him to cover.
Yeah, I think he's covering this.
Duly noted. We'll have to remember that one.
Yep. Okay. Our next matchup, we're going to go to right in the middle of the pack. These games are always very interesting just because they are seeded so close together. We're going to go with the number 4 seed versus the number 5 seed. And coming in at 8-5, the number 4 seed is Big Limbs.
Show me the money. Show me the money. I need to feel you, Jerry. Show me the money. Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money.
The number 4 seed, Big Limbs, comes in at 8-5 with 1,446 points for and 1,509 points against. Number 5, Sweetness, comes in at 7-6 with 1,516 points for, 1,465 points against.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
What's your take on this one, Greek?
My take on this one, this is the white knuckle game.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is these boys both came into 2018 with extra draft picks.
Ooh.
They both sold in 2017. They came in with extra draft picks. And not only that, Sweetness and Big Limbs have already given away a pick for next year.
That's big.
So these guys, if you tell me that, you sell in 2017, get ready for 2018, and here you are in 2018, you've already sold a little bit for 2019, this is like the college team's equivalent. Like, they got their senior quarterback. They got 9 out of 11 starters back on defense. This is our year to win the Big Ten, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, Sweetness, next year, Sweetness is already missing 3 of his top 10. Big Limbs isn't as far. He's missing 1 of his top 10, but bottom line is he gave up a 6th-round pick, right?
Right.
These guys want to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
With all that said, and if I say at the end of the day, you went out in the first round.
Right.
It's bad, right? So when I look at the game, I almost feel bad for Sweetness. I just don't like the way this whole thing shook out for him.
Yeah, I agree. It's not. It just doesn't feel like he has the team to do it.
I agree. I totally agree. And then, like I said, we tape it on a Friday. Last night, Thursday night game, Jags Titans. I know you were watching.
Mm-hmm.
Fournette, dude.
3 points.
3 points. 1st round pick for him. I think he drafted him 7th or 8th. The guy's been up or down all year. I think he was hurt 6 or 7 weeks.
You draft you in your first 3 rounds for this game.
Oh, yeah. And then Fournette last night lays an egg, 3 points. I also, there's just a lot not to like. I honestly, with that said, this game is the epitome to me of survive and advance. If you can get by this one, I can see either one of these guys going on tear and winning the whole thing.
Yep.
Because they both have teams that can score 140 or 150 on any given week.
Vegas have this?
Vegas has got this. Is pretty tight. Vegas, right now, the Vegas line has Big Limbs laying 9. So
this is a tight. I mean,
this is tight, it's tight. I think this game will be tight.
They have anything? What do they have? Sunday night, Monday night?
They have Tyler Lockett for Big Limbs on the Monday night stage, and then for Sweetness plays Chicago and the Sunday night game with the Rams.
Wow,
which you don't love that matchup,
right?
So my gut feeling tells me Big Limbs wins a tight one.
It's what I think as well.
Yeah. So would you? The question is Big Limbs -9. Would you lay those points?
Yes,
I would too.
I think at this, especially knowing the Fournette.
Yes,
knowing
having that information changes everything. And there's just a Sweetness. I mean, I couldn't even imagine if he goes out week 1 like this, the first round of the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, you essentially in 2017 he had a good year, made some good moves, but he knew he's a smart guy. He knew he really wasn't in it. He didn't have a chance to win the championship, right?
Right.
So you played a whole year where you didn't really even have a chance to win the championship, and this was your year. And now next year, 2019, I'm telling you now, if you're missing 3 of your top 10 picks, you're completely handicapped going into the next year.
Well, he's also we've already spoken about with Dim Sum and Cheeseheads how they're looking.
I know. In the draft. That's an uphill battle. I mean, it's going to be hard enough for someone if they just have a normal draft to compete with those guys. Right. But the Sweetness, I feel like he's a little unlucky. I don't like the way they're shaking out. But like I said, with that said, I'm not saying that I'm picking Big Limbs. I'm picking Big Limbs to win the game. I'm picking Big Limbs to cover the spread. But I'm not saying it's a crazy upset if Sweetness wins this game.
No, not at all.
And with all that said, if Sweetness wins this game, watch out.
Yeah, I agree. That was our 4 and 5 seed game. So we have one game remaining. And I think everyone agrees the marquee matchup of the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, I just got off the phone with Collinsworth and Al Michaels, and that's where they're heading for this game. This is the TV trucks are already on the way. This is the prime time event.
So we have the clearly overachieving number 2 seed coming in at 10-3, Hog Heaven.
Because we're adding a little something to this month's contest. As you all know, first prize is Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? The second prize is a set of steak knives.
The number 2 seed Hog Heaven again coming in with a 10-3 record, 1,490 points for, and by far the least points against, 1,172. He'll be taking on number 7 seed WNS Eagles.
You don't have to do this to impress me. Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
The number 7 WNS Eagles comes in with a 6-7 record, 1,445 points scored for, and 1,529 scored against, the most points scored against any team in the league. I think what my 2 cents on this game is that WNS Eagles has had a pretty unlucky season, and his record does not show the power of this team.
Completely agree. Scariest part about that is I agree that he has been unlucky. So what does that tell you? Law of average says, I need time to get a little lucky. Yeah. Right? So this was the team that we all knew if you got in the playoffs, this is the team you did not want to see.
Absolutely.
I know I've heard some back channel, some rumors. I know Nostradamus sweat off the brow when he found out he did not draw WNS Eagles in the first round. Team you don't want to see. Look at the line on this one. This is a great. I don't know if I've ever seen this. I'm sure it's happened, but we don't pay attention. This game's a pick 'em.
Straight pick 'em.
Straight pick 'em.
What's the point total?
127 to 127. Solid. Just a good old meat and potatoes.
It's interesting, too, because, I mean, I think we as we kind of talked last week, I mean, Hog Heaven's a little bit overachieving. Their record probably isn't indicative of what team they have, and WNS Eagles, as we just mentioned, 6-7, isn't indicative of their team as well. So, little yin and yang with that.
Oh, yeah. Totally agree. It's almost like sometimes you're so close to the forest, you don't see the trees. It's just like, I feel like if we would all have stepped back a month ago, we'd been like, he's making the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like, it's one of those things. He's going to find a way.
I don't know, man. I mean, he was like a 10 or 11 seed at one point.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's already working on his draft board for 2021. He's like forecasting college players, just like, I might take him in the second round on a flyer.
Funny.
But when it comes into the game, when we get down to the meat potatoes of the game here, I like his quarterbacks playing on the night game. I don't even know if there's any empirical
Playing each other as well.
Playing each other. And I don't even know if there's any data to ever back this up, but doesn't it just seem like people score more points when they play in those night games?
Yeah.
I don't even, it really just may be some false thing that I just
It's
believe.
because we see it or whatever.
You see it, there's elements, but I swear it seems like there's always a quarterback scoring 25, 30 points, and both of them are going against each other. So he's got that going for him. He's got solid running backs. With all that said, I'm going to pick Hog Heaven in this one.
Taking Hog Heaven.
I'm taking Hog Heaven.
Okay, so hey, Hog Heaven's won 10 games for a reason.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not. You told me last time Hog Heaven's overachieving. Hog Heaven. You know what? At the end of the day, what did Bill Parcells say? Your record is what your record is, right? You are what your record is.
Well, this is going to be another one I'm going to disagree with you. I am taking WNS Eagles. I think he wins this game. I think that there is a chance that he comes back and wins the whole thing.
I couldn't agree. I think we both agree, even though we're taking different sides on this. Would you be shocked if Hog Heaven won? No. Will I be shocked if WNS Eagles wins? No. Right. That's why this game's a pick 'em. That's why it's great. That's why it's a marquee game for the night.
And also, if you also take a step back and look at the league as a whole, as we've talked about, 2-3-time champions meeting each other in the playoffs. This game is huge.
Oh, it's huge. And then, WNS Eagles, that was the same WNS Eagles that you always get. Just good moves, always sharp on the waiver wire. Hog Heaven was a little different this year. Mm-hmm. Daddy got a credit card. Okay? I'm telling you right now, I believe made 3 moves as a buyer.
Yeah.
So Hog Heaven could have sat there and just been totally content. There's no way he could have fallen further than a 5 or 6 seed.
Right.
Went for it. Picked up Thielen, got luck on the cheap. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think he essentially went down like 13 picks to get Andrew Luck. I mean, he got Thielen, and who else did he get?
Got AJ Green at one point.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
That didn't turn out.
Yep.
The bottom line is, Daddy got a credit card, spend some money, okay? And Hog Heaven's got some new rims on the thing. And I think this is the matchup right here that I'm telling you that I think is going to make or break this game. This is what I think. I think this game is going to come down to 2 players. WNS Eagles has Kirk Cousins as his quarterback, and Hog Heaven picked up Thielen as his wide receiver.
Yeah, that could definitely negate the Cousins versus Wilson.
Yes. And I think that Thielen's had a couple down weeks. And we know anytime a number 1 receiver has a couple down weeks, I look for Thielen to have 1 to 2 touchdowns in this game, and I think that could negate Cousins.
Where's that game at? That Seattle-Minnesota game?
It's in Seattle.
In Seattle. Yeah. That's big time.
It is. It is good, and I think this game's gonna be close. I think that they got it right with calling it a pick. I'm obviously picking Hog Heaven. I like it. I don't love it.
Gotcha.
Definitely, as you said earlier, I'm not taking a rubber band off of this. If you put a gun to my head, I'm picking Hog Heaven in a close one.
So that's our matchups. What do you want to move on to next? You want to talk about so what happens after we win these? What happens in the divisional and all that?
Yeah, let's move to we picked all the quarterfinal games. Let's just go straight through to our semifinals and our championship game pick'ems. Our championship game pick'ems. Yep.
So who would be matched up next? So I took WNS Eagles. I took Notre Shaunus. I took It's Not a Tumor, and I took Big Limbs. We disagreed with Hog Heaven and WNS Eagles, and It's Not a Tumor, bad guys, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, just for mine, I'm saying I have It's Not a Tumor versus Hog Heaven.
Okay.
And on that game, I'm going to take It's Not a Tumor.
Okay.
To take down a champ.
Yeah.
And he's going to go to his first final ever.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Be great. Just really, for that owner and the city that he represents, those fans. I think for those fans, they deserve it.
They're all barefoot. So on that side of my semifinal, I'm going to have It's Not a Tumor getting by Hog Heaven. On the other side of my bracket, it's Notre Shaunus versus Big Limbs. And I look for this to be a shootout. I look for this. There's something about the semifinal. If you ever do the research, you look at the semifinal just where there's a couple teams that go off.
Yeah. And
I think this could be a high-scoring shootout. I just have to go with Notre Shaunus, go with my gut. I think Big Limbs gets tripped up in the semis. My championship game will be It's Not a Tumor versus Notre Shaunus.
Yeah. And you have winning that.
And then my champ winning the whole thing set a new seat at the table at the champions table. And that's one thing I think that people should propose for that draft next year, that the champions should have their own table.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Throne.
Yes. Put a new seat there. Because It's Not a Tumor needs a place to sit down. I'm picking It's Not a Tumor to
Win the
upset.
whole fucking thing.
That's my pick. I'm picking It's Not a Tumor to win the whole thing. And the only thing I'll say about that, if we're doing Vegas, I don't even know what their odds would be. If I took It's Not a Tumor on a money line bet, I bet you I'm getting 50 to 1 or 40 to 1 on that. So I'm trying to cash out big on that.
So I would have WNS Eagles versus It's Not a Tumor. I would have WNS Eagles winning that game. I think WNS Eagles comes back from what was almost a lost season, probably on the brink of selling at some point, as we kind of discussed last week. And I think he comes through, wins that game. And then I would have Big Limbs playing against Nostradamus. I think Nostradamus wins that game. And then obviously another really big matchup for WNS Eagles at that point. Again, 2 3-time winners up against each other in the championship. Nostradamus, WNS Eagles, and I think Nostradamus takes it to the wire and brings home another championship and goes 4.
I think if it plays out the way you want, you're asking for like some Patriots versus Cowboys type final or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it's going to break all the Nielsen records.
Yes.
I mean, that
People's
game,
TVs will explode.
that game. I mean, go put insurance on your television sets right now because they're going to explode if it's Nostradamus versus WNS Eagles. That would be, I believe, both 3-time winners.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that game would be big.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I'm not really pulling for anybody. I just want good games.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Just good games.
Yeah.
Just I just don't want to see anything sloppy. Just good games.
All right. That was our playoff special episode. We will be back one more time this season. We will have a wrap-up episode after the championship. We'll talk about how the playoffs ran down. We'll talk about what's coming forward for the draft, what's going to be happening and anything happening in the off-season. And we have a special guest that's going to be with us next time. We're going to actually have the commissioner of the league here. And I want to tell you guys, the commissioner is going to be taking questions. If you have any questions for the commissioner, you can email us at fantasyfootball43130@yahoo.com. Again, that's spelled all out, Fantasy Football Forum, and then numbers 43130@yahoo.com. Send in a question for the commissioner. We'll set right here. We'll ask him, put him on the hot seat, and he'll give us an answer.
Yeah, ask him anything you want, and if you want to be anonymous, let us know. We'll keep you anonymous.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want that privacy, we'll be more than happy to give it to you. The commissioner will be here. I'm excited.
Me too.
I mean, you just never know what he's going to say.
I've met him once or twice. He's a different guy.
Definitely different. Definitely different. Just but he's a man's man. He's a
yeah,
salt of the earth type of guy. So.
All right, Greek. You have anything else for this episode?
I just want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this. I've had a great time. I'm just can't wait to see how everything turns out.
So this is Floyd, and that's the Greek for Glass City Production Studios. This is the Fantasy Football Forum. See you next time.